All right, everybody, and welcome back here on my channel. Today, we are talking collecting. We have someone with us who is a pure collector at heart, who collects nearly everything, I would say. So let's pick on his brain. Welcome, Sean from Comics and Crypto.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
It's a pleasure, man. It's a pleasure. As I said in a couple of other interviews, I've never been a collector myself. I've collected Pokemon cards and all that a little when I was 10, 11, 12, and then nothing. And then I found VeVe, and okay, now you see I have a few physical collectibles in my background. But today we want to pick on your collector's heart, and I want to know, do you remember how collecting started for you? Do you maybe remember your first piece?
Definitely. It started with sports cards, actually. And I would, man, there was a magazine called Beckett. And anyone out there who collects sports cards back in the 90s, they'll
Yeah.
remember Beckett because that was the only way to understand value of cards. And
Yeah.
inside the magazine, it'd show value of cards going up and down. And I was this kid, just collecting cards, but also speculating on players and athletes and how well they would do. And I would buy the rookie cards, and even like before Mark McGuire hit the home run record in 99, I think it was 90 or 98, 98. I bought his rookie card knowing that he was trying to chase Roger Maris's home run record.
Yeah.
And I bought it for cheap, and at the end of the season, it went up like 15, 20x.
Because he made the new record, right? Okay.
Yeah. So I was this, 10-year-old kid just going crazy on these cards.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what I was doing at the time, but I was investing. And not necessarily was making profit, but I really enjoyed the aspect of understanding speculation.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
I mean, it's also a lot of research that goes into finding those hidden players, hidden gems, as you can say, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Research, and that's really what it comes down to. And the foundation of our channel is about educating our audience about collecting and investing in collectibles, but also making sure we give them the right tools to do research themselves. That's so important to find your own voice as an investor. And whether you're collecting or investing, you're spending money on things, and you need to know what it is you're buying into. Otherwise, you could get a bad taste in your mouth if it's not what you thought it was.
Yeah, definitely. And you guys do a great job and on the education part, because back in 2021, I've watched a lot of your stuff when I started with collecting on VeVe, and the comic tier list and all that stuff. I was all over just to get a sense, because I had no idea. Comics never played any role in my life. So that was really, really helpful.
I'm sorry.
But
Thank you.
yeah, no worries, man. Honestly, I think if someone provides such great value to other people, I mean, it deserves some credit, and you guys definitely did that to me, and I guess to many other people. Um, after the sports cards collecting and kind of trading and investing, what came after it?
Yeah, I've always really been into comic books. Memorabilia is also something I'm really into. Signed memorabilia, sports memorabilia, movie props. I actually have, and I've never really been public about this, but we have a pretty awesome collection of movie props from different films that I love as well, including like 51st Dates, some Adam Sandler movies, like actual shirts. Have you seen that movie?
Okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So it's really cool to have a chance to own that kind of piece of history, which mean a lot to me personally. But it's really interesting because I got really heavily involved with investing in comic books around I don't know, 2016, 17, somewhere around there. So I was doing that intensively for a while, and but I've always collected comics, but never really truly investing in comics until around that
So
time.
in 2016, you had like the mindset of wanting to make profit and trading and selling and okay.
Exactly. Yeah. And then that's actually when I went backpacking in Europe and met Spencer. And Spencer and I met in a hostel in Prague. He's from Philadelphia, and he was teaching me about investing in crypto and NFTs, which I knew nothing about at the time.
Yeah.
And I was teaching him about investing in comic books. So for about 6 months, and this is flash forward to 2019 and 2020, around there. And we were teaching each other how to invest in these different mediums. And then we came across VeVe, and we started realizing, oh my gosh, this is licensed IP from the biggest brands in the world. They have DC. And then we speculated that they're going to potentially get Marvel and Disney, and they end up getting
Yeah.
Marvel and Disney. And that's when we started our channel. Kevin, who I'd known for 15, 20 years, we worked together doing film production in the Bay Area. And Kevin also loves pop culture and loves collecting as well. And so all three of us started the podcast Comics for Crypto to help educate people about the significance of Marvel IP, specifically when it was announced that was going to be dropped on VeVe, because we realized quickly that people didn't really understand the significance of, people didn't really understand how important it was to see an NFT of Spider-Man and having a first appearance of his character in digital format, and how big of a deal that was. And especially when the comic books started dropping out, we realized quickly that a lot of people didn't really understand the value of a lot of these comics.
Me included. I was there on drop day of Marvel Comics 1, and I didn't buy a single thing from the store.
Yeah.
I could kick my head in the myself in the head for that still. But yeah, I guess we are still early, right?
Oh, totally. Yeah. Very, very, very much so.
Yeah. So from your background and your collecting journey, the next question I wanted to ask was, and I think I don't have to ask it because I already know the answer, was there ever a time where you thought about stopping collecting?
Not necessarily stopping. I mean, it comes in waves sometimes. Life gets in the way.
Yeah.
But my heart for collecting's always been there. I've always loved it. Something that was really interesting that I didn't really realize until VeVe, I had a little bit with the comic book, investing in comic books. There's definitely a community aspect for sure. People know each other, especially on social media, but I'd never met anything like it until VeVe, I would say.
Yeah, the community aspect is so awesome. I mean, I've only been to German events so far, but I've connected with people I would never in 1,000 worlds would come across other than through VeVe. And it's so great.
I'm so happy to hear that. And that was the beauty of VeVe. And what we realized is that people were collecting in digital format. A lot of people collecting for the first time. And then they were falling in love with collecting. And then they started buying physicals to match their digitals and going to Comic-Con events. I've talked to so many people that have said, I'm here right now at Comic-Con because of VeVe. I would never be here if it wasn't for them. And I think that's a beautiful, amazing thing that a lot of physical collectors aren't realizing, that this is an entirely new generation of collectors. And that's so exciting. That's so exciting. Everyone should be excited about that.
Yeah, I see it the same way, because honestly, I got, for example, this is a reprint, by the way. That's not a original. It's a reprint. Come on, I'm not rich, guys. But I have a 200. Is it 45 mint on VeVe of this comic, of the common cover, and I thought it looked so cool that I had to get at least a reprint. But let's go back to what a lot of I would say real collectors don't see yet, that VeVe is able to create new collectors. What do you think has to happen that these collectors of only physical stuff get more into the digital stuff, and that they see that the digital collecting, the digital collecting part is just another expression of collecting and opens up even more possibilities for collectors?
I think a lot of it is just, if they just put a little bit of effort in to understanding what it is, instead of just criticizing or judging. As Ted Lasso, one of my favorite shows, said, be curious, not judgmental.
Yeah.
Be curious, not judgmental. And if people put a little bit of curiosity into it, try to understand it more, I think they would realize the things that we've realized is that, again, there's a whole new generation of collectors and customers that are coming on board because of digital collectibles. And I think if people really put down a medium like that, they're insulting, thousands of people who enjoy this stuff, and they also collect physicals too. So, it's I don't see this as I don't see this as a transition. I don't think things are going to evolve into digital only. I think physical is always going
No,
to,
me neither.
at least within our lifetimes, physical is always going to have
Yeah,
uh,
100%.
yeah, and people always want physicals, but I think digital is just creating a whole new opportunity for people to collect, especially worldwide. That's something that we've talked about pretty often, is this massive barrier to entry for physical collectibles. And
Yeah,
it's really a shame. It's terrible having to ship items that, get lost in the mail worldwide, even domestically. I had a comic book, and it was a Tales of Suspense 52, and it was signed by Stan Lee and Larry Lieber, his brother.
yeah.
And I sold it and I shipped it out just across the United States. And I shipped it via FedEx. First time using FedEx, I always use USPS. And they got lost. It was lost for a month. And I thought it was gone. At this point, I'm like, I have to refund the guy. I have to go through insurance. This is a nightmare. And it magically showed up at some other FedEx in the Bay Area. I'm like, okay. And he ended up getting it, thankfully, after a month. But that was it. No apologies, nothing. It was
Yeah, yeah.
really terrible experience, and
Yeah.
very deflating for me to have to go through all that.
Yeah, yeah, I understand that. And that's where Fanable comes into play also, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So guys, if you haven't heard about Fanable, check the episode. It should be the last episode on my channel. There we talk in depth about Fanable. Check it definitely out. It's a great product and a great service. But let's move on the collecting side. So you've collected nearly everything and a lot of it.
Oh, man.
So collecting is always tied, or not always, but most pieces are tied to stories, to moments, to experiences. What are like the one or two best experiences or moments you had with a collectible?
Oh boy. Actually, one second.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Coincidentally, my favorite collectible that I own is this, and it's a signed baseball by Ken Griffey Jr. And
Okay.
why would this be important to you, Sean? Well, I was maybe 10 years old, and the Mariners were playing at the A's in Oakland. They're playing versus the A's in Oakland. And Ken Griffey Jr. is still my favorite athlete of all time. And I told my dad I want to get his autograph. That's so important to me. So let's go during batting practice. Maybe I would bring a ball and a pen to see what happens. Sure enough, I went out there. I saw Griffey run out of the dugout. I was screaming. He ran over and signed my ball. And that was one of the coolest moments of my life that I was able to experience that with my dad, but also the fact that I had something in my mind. I was set on making that happen. It was a long shot. I made it happen. And in terms of value, this probably isn't worth very much, especially since the sun has destroyed the ball. But
yeah.
if I just being able to get that,
but the value is not in the piece itself. The value is in the story behind, right?
Exactly. And those are the kind of collectibles I love. For me personally, I mean, like this board behind me right here is signed by 50 different Marvel artists, and Lee, and I had them all signed personally by those artists. So that's
so a question to this, because I've never been at a Comic Con or so.
Oh, okay.
Are there all the artists, or do you go with the poster to like 10 different cons to get the autographs?
It's a work of probably 7 years in the making, and I've gone probably about 30 different Comic Cons to get all those signatures. I usually wait though. Now at this point, I'm probably gonna hold off and just wait until there's like at least 5 or 10 different artists.
Yeah.
I don't fly with it. I drive. So when I say 30 different Comic Cons, I mean like local ones. I go to LA Comic Con 3 or 4 times because you have different artists that come through there. So it's just really special to see their reactions too, and say, wow, that is an achievement.
Yeah, I can't believe that.
All the time, so pretty cool. That's pretty cool to see their reactions. It's pretty special. But yeah, lately we've been really collecting VHS and sealed media.
I've seen that on X. Yeah.
Yeah, VHS.
Tell me more about it. What fascinates you about VHS tapes?
And this is another thing that actually I will say that I give credit to VeVe and other platforms like Candy Digital. Big shout to Candy Digital and the Bat Cow community, Cryptoys. You know, I've these digital collectibles has reignited my passion for collecting not just comic books, but now other things like VHS tapes, sealed media, movie tickets. But VHS especially speaks to my heart because I mean, at first I was like, collecting VHS tapes, what? And
Yeah, yeah,
when I started thinking about it, especially video games, I started to realize, oh, wait a minute, as the world is becoming more and more digital, these physicals are going to be obsolete and disappear, but people are going to want to collect them because they represent the first time that these very important games and characters were introduced.
yeah.
Sure enough, the video game market is just out of this world. It's
Yeah,
insane.
that's crazy sometimes, right? The
Yeah,
prices and stuff.
it's wild.
How is it looking on the VHS market? Because in my opinion, I would say okay, they should be kind of affordable.
Right now they are. I would say, yeah, 2 years ago the market was definitely different. It's come down quite a bit, but even now there are still some very significant sales, and it really comes down to just like comic books. It comes down to what it is. Is it a grail?
Yeah.
Is it a massive key? Is it popular? Is it scarce? Um, there are very very big sales that happened recently. Just a couple of days ago, a third print VHS of Star Wars sold for $20,000 in Heritage. Yeah,
Not
so
that bad.
that's a pretty good sale. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
pretty good sale. The record for a VHS tape was a couple years ago. It was a first print of Star Wars for $114,000. That's the record to this day, at least publicly.
Okay, yeah, okay. That's quite a good amount of money, right?
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, it's probably cheaper, right? Currently,
Cheaper in what aspect?
in the price aspect, in the monetary value of the VHS tapes.
I think there are a lot of tapes that are undervalued.
Okay.
That's my humble opinion, not financial advice ever, but
Yeah,
it's tough because obviously Star Wars. I mean, I've talked to a lot of the head graders at different platforms and also some big whales in the community that've been collecting VHS for 15 years. And I pick their brains a lot and I talk to them and I just do a lot of research and understanding how many are out there. And, you know, Back to the Future, for example, is one of my favorite films of all time. There are only about 10 known sealed first print tapes in existence today. That's
yeah.
crazy. 10. And
Yeah,
actually,
okay.
one of them is right here.
Okay, cool. But I honestly, please don't be mad. I have to admit, I've never watched that movie.
I don't know if I should be upset or envious that you get to experience it for the first time.
Yeah. Okay, but I have to, I guess, right? Yeah,
It's truly a wonderful movie, and I'm really excited for you to watch it. Uh,
I will. I will. I will.
yeah, that's great. And the record for that tape sold was $75,000, sold 2 years ago. But it belonged to uh, Thomas F. Wilson, who played Biff, the villain in Back to the Future, and he sold it on Heritage. And I think that's why it sold for such a premium, on top of being a very rare first
Yeah.
print. It also belonged. It was a pedigree. It says on the label from the collection of Thomas F. Wilson. So that holds a lot of.
That's cool.
Yeah, super cool. And this is one that's actually signed by Michael J. Fox. I had him sign that in person, which is really
Okay.
yeah,
Great, man.
yeah.
Okay, so beforehand, you said the physical collectors are not curious enough to understand digital collecting in most of the cases right now, in your opinion. What was like the thing that sparked your interest in digital collecting? For example, I think you started with VeVe, right?
Mhm. Yeah, it was VeVe. That was the first platform to be released, at least that I know of, selling licensed IP. I know a lot of the big brands have their first collectibles on there, like Disney, especially, and Marvel. But will say, I want to clarify that though. I don't think every physical collector thinks that. I have come across some people who put down digital collectibles, and those are the people I'm referring to. I've been on some channels talking about this stuff too, and they really put it down, and I just don't understand why they would do that. I think your time could be used in other ways. If you promoted something negatively, why don't you just talk about it and have open conversation, you know? That's my opinion at least. But what opened my idea to it and helped to understand it, you know, especially like when comics started dropping on VeVe, you know, like Fantastic Four 1 and Marvel Comics 1, this was an opportunity for people to invest and collect this comic. Otherwise, they never would have a chance to, because like Marvel Comics #1, there's less than probably 100 copies in existence
Yeah.
today. And that's probably generous. I think there's way less than that. And, you know, having a chance to own it in digital format that's accessible worldwide is a very big opportunity for a lot of people. And I think that's why I'm very high on the digital collectibles so much, is because of the accessibility that people have. Anyone around the world can buy and sell these instantly, which is a real game changer.
Yeah, definitely. And to these Grail comics, I have a question. What do you think about the print runs of the first digital comics? For example, no, not Amazing Fantasy 15, Amazing Spider-Man. Yeah, exactly. And for example, as you mentioned, Fantastic Four and Marvel Comics 1, they have really great, no, not great, big print runs of 60,000 editions.
Yeah.
What is your opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, when these comics were first released, they were the first of their kind, right? So it makes sense that they would release in higher amounts, because they're a very limited amount of comics. Um, uh, Also, you know, the demand was there for sure too, and there are a lot more people probably on the app at the time than currently, at least right now. I think that's
Yeah,
going to change over time, but yeah, I think that in the for the future, they've definitely resolved that. They've created less, you know, more scarce edition runs on a lot of comics. I would like to see potential burning for those comics in some capacity. If you're able to burn those comics and get rewarded for something else, I don't know if it necessarily should be another cover of that comic, because then that's a whole debate within itself, right? We've done videos on this, whether these comics are facsimiles, are they reprints? You know, we've talked to a lot of people in the community about it too, and we kind of feel mutual about this. The people I talked to, these aren't. I don't look at these as facsimiles or reprints. They're just an opportunity to invest in the original IP, the original comic
yeah,
book. It's even in the metadata. It says it has the date 1961. You know, for like Fantastic Four 1. So they don't look at these as reprints. But it's just an opportunity to reinvest in the original IP. Kind of similar to like, you know, Eternity is another big digital collectibles platform, and I've purchased NFTs of like the original photos of raising the flag of Iwo Jima. Another, as a perfect example, it's licensed
yeah,
through the Associated Press. It's licensed through Joe Rosenthal, who took the photo. So yeah, it's kind of the same idea. Yeah, it doesn't take away that it's a, you know, it's an NFT that has 25 editions, because it's licensed. Now, if they keep releasing the same photo over the next few years,
yeah. Okay, then it gets difficult.
problem, right? Yeah. So
Yeah,
circling back to Fantastic Four 1, if they did burn them, I would love to see something else outside of just having another comic. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what value they can bring for burning collectibles, because it has to be pretty significant, right, for people to want to burn
yeah,
this
obviously.
trail. So it's
Yeah,
going to be for sure.
yeah. We will see. I mean, they have a couple of burning events right now. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, that definitely
we will
is.
see that.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm curious if they're going to go back to the older comics, like you said, that have 60,000 editions to kind of help balance things out. So I think that could be an opportunity for sure. But
Yeah,
time will tell.
yeah, definitely. Um, and since you are a physical and a digital collector, is there a different feeling to the collecting experience?
Yeah, I think it's definitely different. But it really at its core, it's the same way I feel about something. You know, whether it's a character or a VHS tape I grew up with. It's kind of the same idea of they're all connected through nostalgia, pop culture, things that I grew up with that I love. So in a way, it's the same, but also a little bit different. You know, especially for physical collectibles where they're shipped to my house, the excitement of waiting for it to get shipped, opening that box, getting it. Um, Whereas even in digital, you know, you're searching for mint numbers. You know, going after
Yeah,
mint numbers, something that we really love, especially for comic books and certain collectibles. We're massive like publishing year mint collectors. You know, we put bounties out for.
Yeah, I've seen that. I mean, you kind of put bounties out for each collectible, kind of, right? Or not? Not
Yeah, ones that were
most of them.
most of them. Yeah, ones
Yeah,
that we're really interested in. We'll put bounties out, and you know, it's funny to get reactions to people say, "Oh, that's too much. That's too little." Well, you know, sometimes there's something that we really want, and we'll overpay a little bit for it. We're okay with that.
yeah,
Or sometimes people will say, "That's too cheap. You're not. That's too cheap." Well, fine, okay, but at least we're setting the floor. That's what we're doing,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So if somebody does get it and they want to sell it, I hope they see our bounty, because we're also, it's about helping people understand the value that people are putting on these special mint numbers, because right now we don't have the opportunity to see what past sales, and I really hope that changes in the very near future, because that's kind of stunning the growth of the community as investors.
yeah,
uh, but I hope that changes, because that's going to be really helpful. Also,
yeah.
being able to search for mint numbers is going to be a really big deal too. But yeah, I think people are going to realize, I mean, they've already realized it, that there's a tremendous amount of value put on mint numbers, and we're just kind of helping, like, just showcase that in a bigger way. And it's been really fun to see other people counter our bounty or like do something higher, because I know we did one for Hope
Yeah.
when it won, and people kept countering us, and that was fun. And we
Kind
don't,
of gamification, right?
it's fun, you know, it's really
Yeah,
fun. And at the end of the day, if somebody bids higher than us, that's great. You know, if we're not willing to compete and you get it, man, good for you. You know, we're not gonna get upset if we don't get something. You know, we're just out here trying to have a good time and try to promote these collectibles, and yeah, so it's all in fun.
In terms of the collections on VeVe, is there a collection or a collectible where you would say this is like the biggest and most underrated collectible out there? Or what is like the best collection on VeVe, and which is maybe a collection that has potential in your opinion?
I think that there's a definitely a few. There's quite a few actually, but the three that come to mind for sure. We'll start with Miles Morales, first appearance. I think that character.
I don't own it.
I don't either actually. I've been, I totally just, I didn't get on the drop, and I just didn't go for it afterwards, and my mistake. Hopefully it
my
comes back.
best my best friend got the secret rare cover of Amazing Fantasy 15 on drop.
Wow, that's
Yeah, yeah,
amazing. Congratulations.
yeah,
That's amazing. But yeah, that's, I mean, obviously, yeah, 15 speaks for itself. But in terms of like collectibles, because these are a little more speculative,
yeah.
uh, because at least with comic books, you can reference real value with physicals, right? But digital collectibles are a little bit different, because they're just more of a representation of characters or IP. So you're looking at Miles Morales, one of the most popular characters in the world. He represents the future generation of Marvel, and he's a really cool character. And also, it's a very scarce collectible set. You know,
Yeah, definitely.
so whether you get the rare, the ultra rare, or the secret rare, you know, three of them are pretty scarce. You know, under 3,000, I think, is the total editions for all three collectibles.
Mhm.
So I think that's a very, very cool collectible, and they all look great in different ways. So
Yeah.
that is a very, very significant set. And again, I don't want to own any of them. I don't want any of them, which is,
Yeah.
hopefully I can change that soon. The one set that I will say has the most upside, and I'm so excited for its future, especially at the prices now, is the golden moments. I think
Which one? Sorry, I didn't hear.
the golden moments.
Oh yeah, yeah,
I mean, you're looking at first appearances of multiple characters, multiple brands, including Marvel and Disney and Pixar, all in one collection. And I think you can probably get all of that now for under $2,000, which just, to me, is just unbelievable. And the Parker statue represents something so significant that I think even people today don't really realize how important it is, because Disney is so sensitive with Walt Disney's IP, or his brand, his name.
yeah.
I don't know if they're going to release anything else in the near future of Walt Disney, and if they do, it doesn't matter, because the first appearance of Mickey and Walt are in one collectible, and that is insane. That
Yeah.
is incredible value. I mean, here's a good story to give you an idea of how sensitive they are with the Walt Disney name. The family had all of his memorabilia in San Francisco, in an area called the Presidio, which is near the Golden Gate Bridge. And they had all of his memorabilia inside of a storage facility, and they wanted to build a museum to honor him.
Mhm.
So they did that. They started building it out, planning it. They talked to Disney, and Disney contacted them and said, "You can't use the name. the Walt Disney Museum is not going to work because that's our brand name. You can't use it. Can you imagine that, telling the Walt Disney family they cannot
Yeah. Okay.
grandfather? That's literally just going to promote the brand. I mean, it's a beautiful museum, by the way. If you ever go to San Francisco, anyone out there, go to the Walt Disney Museum. Anyway, so uh, they came to terms, they negotiated, talked about it, they ended up calling it the Walt Disney Family Museum.
Okay. Yeah.
They're okay with that. But I mean, can you imagine that if they were fighting over that?
Yeah.
How bad?
Yeah. With the real family.
With the real family. But that's how crazy, that's how wild it is, and how serious Disney takes the brand name so seriously. Like, they're very sensitive over Walt, and the fact
Yeah.
that they gave VeVe that opportunity to release his first collectible in digital format. Man, I'm telling you, it's a really big deal.
Yeah. I personally own a lot of the gold moments, but I don't have a partner statue. And as sad as I am, I will not get a partner statue before the next bull run. Liquidity wise, I just can't,
Yeah,
because I'm currently moving together with my girlfriend and all that stuff. So real life stuff, and I can't even though it's just $1,000, I just can't. But I will get it at the next bull run.
unless you get something lucky,
Bear market money.
unless you get lucky on the drop or something coming up, maybe, and then you could sell it to buy a partner statue too. Something,
Yeah, maybe.
you know,
Maybe.
there's nothing wrong with buying and flipping things to, you know, for any reason at all, but most importantly to buy things that you really love, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, so those two are very significant for sure, the gold moments, but obviously the VeVe Gold logo as well. I mean, the
I
utility
have that. Yes.
is, I mean, that to me, I think it's probably that. So as the partner statue is tied to the Disney brand, the VeVe logo is tied to VeVe's brand. So that's going to rely
Yeah.
heavily on the company's success, which has been very significant. But even just the utility that I received over the past 2 years by going to these events and, you know, getting like the Fig Pin, you know, getting a free Fig Pin that's been selling for $500 to $1,000.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a really fun opportunity to be a part of all that, and I think that definitely has a lot of value as well.
Yeah, I think so too. My favorite piece is the self-made piece with the wooden statue that carves itself. I
Yeah,
love that piece. I have to get that someday, definitely. And I would love to see Dragon Ball on the app, but we will wait and see and hope.
and hopefully one day Pokemon.
Yeah. Yeah, but honestly, I would love to see Dragon Ball a little more. I
Yeah.
mean, Pokemon would be awesome. Don't get me wrong here, but for me, yeah.
Yeah, this is actually pretty cool. I had a chance to get this signed by Alfred Kahn at New York Comic Con, and then
Oh, you guys posted a video or photo from that. I saw that.
this was signed by Veronica Taylor, who's the voice of Ash. You know, it was really fun when I met her. She's such a nice woman,
Yeah.
and she signed it. And she said, "Wait, whose signature is this?" And I said, "It's Alfred Kahn's." And she's like, "No way, Al! It's so cool." And we talked a little about Al, and she said how awesome, he is, and that was super. It was fun to see her face glow. She probably
Another great story behind a collectible, right?
exactly.
Yeah. Cool, man. Cool. So the next evolution of collecting goes a little more digital with the NFT technology, for example, VeVe offers. But now, since a few weeks, we have, I would say, a new home for our collectibles, the VeVeVerse. Have you experienced it yourself, or what is your take on the VeVeVerse?
I have not dived deep into the VeVeVerse yet. I've just been really just sitting back and watching everyone do their magic. Like, it's been
Yeah.
really cool to see the work that people are putting into this and how amazing their homes and the atmospheres they're creating. It's really exciting. It's really exciting to see where it's going to go, and you know, it's just the beginning of something that's going to get even bigger over time.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're, for example, I'm totally addicted. I'm honestly, I'm not the best builder, but I'm addicted. It makes so much fun, but it also takes a lot of time to like get used to it and build kind of really cool stuff.
Yeah.
But I guess if you have like how would I say it? The gene inside of you that likes building and creating, the VeVeVerse is the perfect spot for you. Honestly, you definitely have to check it out yourself, but give yourself some time learning it. Honestly, at least 4 to 5 hours at a time, just to get a basic understanding of what to do and where to put things and all that stuff. Um, but I don't know if you've seen my last interview with Sanjay. Um, he talked about the potential which the VeVeVerse offers to creators and collectors. So, do you guys at Comics and Crypto, or you personally, have any plans on entering the VeVeVerse in some kind of way?
We definitely do. Yeah, Spencer and I and Kevin talked about that quite often, and I think we're still kind of figuring it out. But as more announcements are made, I think our position is going to definitely move forward. But we'll definitely, we're kind of just watching right now to play it out. You know, we're trying to juggle a lot right now. So it's definitely something that we want to do in the future for sure. That we're really excited about.
Okay, so you guys have some plans in mind, but at the moment,
Yeah,
you're kind of closed about it. It's fine. I totally get that, honestly, because I think there's a lot of potential. If VeVe manages to get a lot of people inside the metaverse, so VeVe makes it fun to interact in there, to communicate. If they build out like the social part of the VeVeVerse, and a lot of people are in there, that would be a great place for a lot of stuff. Yeah. Um, Sean, we are now in 40 minutes. Anything we haven't talked about? What do you want to talk about? Maybe.
no, that's pretty much it. I just want to say thank you again for having me on. That was so much fun, and everyone out there, you know, whether you're new in collecting or new or a long time collector, you know, just make sure you always put the research into whatever it is you're purchasing. You know, unless you love it, you just want to enjoy it, which is fine too. But regardless, everything costs money, so make sure to put the time in to really understand what you're buying before you buy something. Uh, I think that makes it more fun when you make that purchase.
Definitely. And for everybody is watching, Comics and Crypto will be linked down in the video description. They are a great place to get that research in. And just for you, the reason why I've started this YouTube channel is exactly the education part, because I have no clue about collecting. And I thought, like, what would be the best way for me to learn collecting, understand the passion from collectors, then talking to real collectors like you, for example. And yeah, that's the reason why I started the channel, because I think VeVe makes a lot of people new collectors like me, and they all have a huge gap to fill. And maybe I'm the person then who asks sometimes stupid questions, for example, or saying, I have never watched Back to the Future, and maybe someone can identify with that and think things like, yeah, that would be a question I would have asked. So thank you. Thank you for being here and answering my question. I really appreciated that and had a great time. And yeah, for everybody out there, if you also enjoyed the episode, let us both know and maybe like the video, comment, and follow the channel. See you guys in the next episode. Bye bye.
Bye.